I've been doing a lot of dinosaur videos, so I thought why not change it up a little and do a video on prehistoric mammals, more specifically the Smilodon. Along with the mammoth, it's the most popular Ice Age creature out there. Those two are basically the T.rex and Triceratops of the Ice Age. As a matter of fact, I think I'll do another video on Ice Age mammals. It could be mammoths or ground sloths, who knows. But this video is going to be covering the most powerful Smilodons in cinema. Now I've seen some people complain about anime animals being added into these, so for probably just this video, it's going to be actual Smilodons, not weird Smilodon, concept animals, or a furry weird kids drool over. At first I thought this was going to be easy since you know it's a popular creature, but it was more challenging than I thought. With that being said, I think I just managed to find some who are worthy of being on one of these lists, from Smilodons able to teleport, to 1200-pound fur monsters that show more loyalty than your spouse. As usual, before we get into the main topic, I must enter a shameless plug.
He's at it again!
If you guys like videos about dinosaur or animal theories in general, then you're gonna like it here. I even take subscriber suggestions and make videos on them sometimes, although I feel my life may be in danger from some of you. So hit that like and subscribe button. You can always unsubscribe if it's not for you. With my dignity finally out the door, let's get right into the strongest saber-tooths we've ever seen in movies or series. I think most of you expected Diego in this list, so I don't have to ease into it. Ice Age was one of my favorite movies growing up, but it just went a bit downhill after part 3, that's just my opinion. Like, there were so many adult jokes and references most of us didn't catch until we were older, or maybe it's just me because I'm kinda slow.
The wild-ass boy came home to his wild-ass mother.
The first Ice Age to me is still the best, where the legendary trio were still basically strangers, being Manny, Sid, and Diego. As for this 2022 revival of it, words cannot describe how pissed off I was. Why do the characters look like this? Anyway, back to Diego. He is big but not necessarily massive like some of the others on the list. He's about the size as a Smilodon populator, around 700 pounds. In the first movie we saw his endurance and durability firsthand. As he fought Soto, who is visually larger and more muscular than Diego, he gets his head slammed into a rock and then took a direct hit from Soto's 9-inch daggers to his torso. Now they obviously couldn't show him bleeding, because at the end of the day it is a children's movie. But after that he trekked for miles with a concussion and internal bleeding. Even though this is due mostly to cartoon effects, he took a collision from a 10-ton mammoth going more than 40 miles per hour head-on and wasn't affected in the slightest. Speaking of tanking collisions, the dude got hit off a cliff with a log weighing almost a ton that was going 30 miles per hour. The initial impact alone was supposed to cause smashed ribs. Not to mention they went off a cliff and he was still able to hang on. This is where we see his strength too, because this guy grabbed a tree as this log was still moving the speed of a Ford driver in a school zone and made this thing come to a complete stop. To put into perspective as to how strong that is, if you were pulled at even half that speed and something twice your weight was the thing pulling you, your hands would be ripped off or dislocated if you tried to stop it by grabbing onto something abruptly. As for the impact, another cat would die bleeding out of all holes moments after being hit. Also in the second movie he's able to shoulder bump a mammoth into another direction. Now onto some offense, Diego has chased a Deinonychus for more than a mile at full speed, jumping over obstacles and climbing cliffs, just to immediately dog walk these animals. I mean, each of these guys is at least 260 pounds, and Diego is able to fight off dozens of them, sometimes with more than one on his back. As Buck was about to be swallowed by Rudy, who was standing upright, Diego was able to jump more than 30 feet off the ground to catch Buck, and landed back on the floor on his feet unharmed. The only big cat I know that can do that without fracturing something are leopards, and even they can't jump more than 20 feet high from the ground. What's apparent with this guy is that his stamina is insane. The guy chased a lighter feline who already had a head start while he got stuck in the occasional obstacle, and somehow managed to catch up and pin her down. Some of you might think I'm exaggerating, but I think Diego can run at more than 50 miles per hour. And for something that weighs as much as a refrigerator, that's impressive. So my guy got hit by a 10-ton animal, almost run over by some drunk sloths, and fought dozens of the Cenozoic's most reformed killing machines without so much as a scratch on him. Continuing the dinosaur trend, the next saber-tooth is the strongest on the list, and that's mainly because of the character he was able to fight on equal grounds. The next saber-tooth comes from a series called Leo the White Lion, which aired before the 2000s. Some people say the Lion King took some inspiration from them, but I don't know about all of that. I'll say right off the bat that Leo is the most powerful lion in all of television. The only other lion that I think can beat him is Aslan, who is basically like Jesus in that world. Not even Simba's son's roar can save him from Leo. Leo can run faster than trains, the fastest bikes, and sometimes teleports like an anime character during fights. The guy took down multiple elephants and triceratops at once, and in this scene he was being thrashed around by an 80-ton dinosaur and walked away fine. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that this Sabertooth is able to hold his own with Leo for a while, with Leo himself having to resort to other tools to beat him. Pachyderma, who is this giant mammoth that knows Leo, comes to ask him for help because the saber-toothed tiger was digging up her grandfather from the ice. Leo has a flashback or something close to it, which shows a lion fighting the saber-tooth and fighting for its life. More than likely that lion was Leo a while back. One way to back this up was when Leo told his son Rooney that a saber-toothed tiger is no game, implying that he went head-on with this one before and almost lost. This Smilodon has extremely exaggerated saber teeth, even for a Smilodon at almost 2 feet long or more, and they are outrageously durable. This guy can hit his canines on rock-hard ice for weeks without shattering or showing any sign of wear. If any other saber-tooth tried that, they wouldn't be called saber-tooths anymore. What's more is that he isn't a fool that would risk unnecessary injury. He scuffles with Leo for a bit, and they are on equal footing, but he decides to let someone else fight instead of him wasting energy. So this guy gaslights a bunch of triceratops in the caves, telling them that Leo called them big, slow, fat worms, so they would be pissed and attack Leo. That is just what they did, and at first these 8-ton animals are laying Leo out. Like, that's next level gaslighting. Leo defeats all of these mega herbivores because he's him, and as he was about to leave, the Smilodon basically challenges him for the last time, where Leo puts a sharp icicle in his mouth and says a fang for a fang. Now I wasn't sure if this was a pride thing, or if it was a new strategy, since Leo probably lost to this guy in the past. Anyway, they chair blows, and the sharp piece of ice plants firmly into the saber's body, where he laughs hysterically like the Joker and dies. This Smilodon has insane speed and agility too, able to turn on a dime, or basically backtrack anytime, which defies the law of physics. He doesn't have much screen time, but for the short amount of time where he was on screen, he showed that you don't always have to be big and buff to be the strongest. You just gotta be faster than the speed of sound and have top tier gaslighting skills, also teeth that could hit ice as hard as stone multiple hours a day without so much as a crack. The next Smilodon has even less screen time than this guy, but his sheer size alone made me put him on here, as he's the biggest one on the list. This one is going to be really short because all this Sabertooth basically does in this movie is pose and look badass. It comes from the movie called 10,000 BC, which I'm sure most of you have watched at some point in time. But it shows about a guy called Delay, who goes on a journey to get back his love Eveleth, who is captured by horse riders who sell slaves. This movie, by the way, has my favorite terror bird. Like, aside from Primeval, these terror birds, they look really cool. They have heads that look like that of a vulture, and their dull plumage fits for their environment. Now back to the Sabertooth. We first see this thing as Delay falls into a spiked pitfall trap where the Sabertooth was also trapped, but it couldn't get out because of heavy pieces of wood that were on it and wedged between the rocks. It was raining very heavily and the pit was filling up with water, which means the cat would drown if it wasn't released. Now Delay believed in spirits or something like that, so he helped free the cat and hoped that he wouldn't be eaten. Now me personally, I'm not taking that chance because knowing my luck, I'd get mauled by the apex predator right after saving it. When this thing is free, you can see just how big it is. It's bigger than a liger, but doesn't look like it has diabetes. It's actually muscular and looks like a fit wild animal. The Smilodon decides to spare the human's life as thanks, I guess, and with one jump escapes from the pit. The next time we see it is when Delay and his uncle were about to get killed by an angry tribe, and the cat showed up like Batman and made everyone pull back. Delay puts his hand out like he's using the force and tells the cat to remember me as if he's Mufasa, telling Simba to take his place. So the animal jumps over him and turns its attention to the tribe, basically saying I dare you to attack him, and they all pull back some more. With how the tribe came off at first, you would think that they would try to kill it or something. But in all honesty, if they threw a spear at this thing, it would have just pissed it off and lead to a massacre that would only be rivaled by the Bloodfang Sabertooth in Primal. I swear if this was a media video instead of cinema, he would have been here because he's from a game. But he'll get mentioned in a future video sometime next month. Feats wise, this guy has almost none, except for intimidating an entire tribe of armed warriors who probably know better than to attack this thing even when armed. Like I said, its size and raw looks was mostly what put it on the list, because let's face it, this thing is at least 1200 pounds, and at that size do you really need as much skill as some other characters? Last on the list is not quite as big, but a giant nonetheless, and is from a series we all wish didn't end. Primeval was the best show to ever be created that dealt with anything prehistoric, and nothing came close, and I'm talking about the original Primeval, not the Primeval New World nonsense. The show is about a team of agents from a company called the Ark who has the responsibility of finding and closing up anomalies that cause prehistoric and sometimes future animals to come to the present. To this day, no other concept of an animal makes me as uneasy as the future predator. It's basically the Death Angel, but it can swim. The Smilodon in this show has the best looking pattern of any I've seen. The spots of a leopard, but more exaggerated, and a compact body that's just pure muscle. The story behind this one, however, is that it was actually raised by this crazy chick called Valerie, who continued to keep this thing as a secret while she knew it was up and about killing people in the theme park and on the streets, convincing herself that this animal is a little cub that won't hurt a fly. The Smilodon in this series, like everything else in it, is very aggressive and behaves like a honey badger to anything it sees as a threat. I mean, this thing decided to take on an excavator and repeatedly kept on attacking it, knowing little damage was being done. It then took a hit full on from the machine in the lower ribs and ran off like nothing happened, not a limp or anything. It's really good at getting over any sort of terrain obstacle also, with not even a perfectly vertical tree being able to stop it from its assault. I mean, the thing jumped off from canopy level heights and wasn't affected in any way whatsoever. This Smilodon can jump more than 25 feet with barely a running start just to kill Tucker, who the so-called caregiver also hates. The ironic thing is that as Tucker told the crazy bitch to get away from the thing when it's in a frenzy, she walks up to the 800-pound carnivore and says he would never hurt me, as it then proceeds to maul her like a pit bull with an unattended toddler. Later in the OG seasons, just before Stefan was about to be killed, it was released and was about to attack Abby but missed and went straight into an electrical circuit. And with how big that building was, the amount of amps passing through that should have killed something his size with just one touch. But he briefly pulls away and runs off. Some of you are probably saying that the Smilodons I've mentioned throughout the video aren't as hardcore compared to the animals in my previous list, and that's because dinosaurs are way more popular compared to Ice Age creatures, so interpretations of them are always going to be more OP and wild. Which is why you don't see Smilodons capable of leveling a city or country like the dinosaurs. Regardless, the Sabertooths I've mentioned so far are the strongest I could have found. I mean, there are some Smilodons from other movies and stuff, but they don't do as much, and all the rest of them are from some sort of documentary, so it wouldn't be fair. Now, there would have been more powerful versions if I included the games, which is what I'll do next time. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.